Welcome back to another episode of How Did We Get Here? It's your boy Jay Carter, my co-host Skeens, and still got a baby on the side, Mr. Jason. And we wanted to come with this hot, scathing topic that every woman wants to know, and you know what that is. Papa was a Rolling Stone, doo 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 doo, and what? Someone asked the question, why do we cheat? When I see a big old booty, I think about the sheets. I'm joking. It's a serious topic, but we want to put some comedy with it. The question every woman wants to know, why do men run around out here when they got a good situation at the house? Why is that? And we're going to dig deeper. But the biggest reason that I can give to you is ego. That's the honest to God truth of everything that we could say. It's ego.
Yeah.
Ego. That's what it is, because you have to, first of all, again, great mentors have always taught me about being settled with your situation, right? And how do we become, here's the thing, men, how do we become settled, right? Being settled, you have to appreciate where you are. You have to value where you are. You have to value that relationship. And especially when you're in a long-standing relationship, you have to practice and that affection towards your wife. I had an argument with a group of women a few years ago, and we had the argument of basically once you falling in love takes no effort. Again, that's why they call it falling. But it's what do you do after that? The work that has to be done in the relationship
Exactly.
after you fall.
Yeah, because too often people think the ring is the end result.
No,
The ring is the beginning.
that's the beginning. That's the beginning of the story.
So everything else is preseason.
Everything is preseason. Once you get the ring, that's the real game. That's the real game. And you have guys ask me, Jay, how do you practice your affections? And for me, this is Jay. The practicing of my affection is in my prayer for my wife, my prayers with my wife, and then that quiet time that I spend practicing those things in my mind, and also expressing to her how I feel about her. That she's the object of my affections. She delights my heart. She's the desire that I have. My personal thing, I tell you, she's my personal video vixen that I get to sleep with every night. And it's in those things that I practice that. But as men, sometimes we will lose sight of that. Again, talking about how men just fall into, I'm just out here chopping trees down, cutting the grass, going to
But
work.
it's also called practice.
Absolutely.
In the words of AI, we talking about practice.
Practice?
So in order to get it right, you must practice, and you
You
got
have
to be
to.
diligent in that practice.
You have to be diligent.
Because one day off of practice, you out of shape.
Because men, with us being visual hunter, because a dude, a man, I can see something and instantly ascertain and break down that situation, and okay, I'll do that, I'm gonna say this, and then I start. And men now, even in a committed relationship, even me and Jade has been with, me and Liz been together 17, what is it, 17 years? Yeah, I'm at 17, about to hit 18 this year in November. But you can see something that you still gonna see things that you find attractive, but it's just what you have to have. You doing the mental work and the discipline of what do I do with that thought once I have it.
And then sometimes we look for an excuse.
Absolutely.
Oh
Yeah.
man, she tripping. I'm
Yeah.
out here.
Right.
Oh man, she ain't show me any attention. I'm out here.
Mm-hmm.
So you pick, at times we pick fights
Absolutely.
to justify going out there.
Absolutely. And then here's the thing again, guys. So we're gonna tie everything together. When we're talking about legacy, we're talking about the building of the family and being in our proper position as men. I have to resolve it within myself that being a family man and being faithful to my wife, that's the epitome of my manhood. Like, I am at full strength as a man when I'm committed to my wife and to my family. And oh, by the way, one of my mentors also told me what sobered me up is like, if something happens in your relationship because of the people that look up to you, it's a domino effect, not just in your relationship, not just of your kids, not just in your immediate family, but it's even those friends and people outside of that sphere that look at you.
Yeah.
Because you could be like, dang, I thought they was lock solid, man, but they fell off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, again, going back, we can tie everything to ego, because as a man, I have this thing in me where, again, as a hunter, that I'm always looking out here and I want to know, can I still kill?
Yes.
Can I still kill out here, baby? Do I still got it? Am I still a savage? You know what I'm saying? That's the part of it. And you have that thing that's like, okay, hey man, see what
Now then the question is, how often right after it's over, you feel bad?
Yeah,
No.
it's instantaneous. It's instantaneous. It's an instantaneous sobering thing that happens in you as a man when you make that mistake like that. And as far as how do you correct that in the relationship, and we'll talk about this in depth in another video, but women, still make sure you give your man something to hunt. Still allow him to be that beast, that savage that he was, because oftentimes we date and we all out of pocket, then we get married. You want to, don't put my legs up.
The ring was given. The ring was given to that previous you.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, it can be taken away from the new you.
Absolutely. So still, y'all need to have that element between each other. Okay. Now, again, I'm not excusing any negative behavior, but again, we're just getting into the mechanisms and the whys of the reality of why these things happen sometimes. But it's still about having that connection between each other like that. It's still about dating each other, all those kinds of things that you hear. It's still about building each other up.
Communicating. Sometimes we have to be willing to be vulnerable to our women.
You have to. Again, your manhood is not, again, just in being in hero mode, being in provider mode. You know what I'm saying? There's an intimacy component that us as men have to tap into with our women. And just as much as we love to study, again, I'm being stereotypical, but it's just as much as men love to study cars and sports and whatever your thing is, you have to be just as committed and have a hunger to know what makes your girl tick like that. And vice versa. She has to have that thing where she wants to know what makes you tick that same kind of way. And it has to be a voracious thing where you want to get into each other's mind and build that intimacy through communication. And then that goes over to intimacy elsewhere that will have reap benefits for you. So that's really, I know women think it's a complex thing sometimes and try to overthink it, but no, it's really ego.
But the practice also starts before the marriage.
Of course, yeah.
And sometimes we have to work on ourselves even before you can get in a relationship. Mm-hmm. You have to mentally start training yourself in terms of the type of person that you want to be, the type of person that you want to attract.
Right.
And what's your real goal with the situation?
And a lot of time we don't like to deal with that about the work that we have to do even before we get into relationships, because sometimes we'll find ourselves just going from relationship, and that's a whole nother thing that we'll probably touch on at a later date is why do people find torment of being with themselves? Tormented of being because again, my mom used to always say, baby, you got to be yourself by yourself.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I have to come into the relationship whole as my best self, right? And then that other person comes and then we build this thing together. But ego is the reason. It's not it's ego. It really is straight up ego. And you'll have that thing within yourself where you're always questioning yourself, and can I still do it? Can I still holler at that chick and get this and that and that and the third? Diminishing returns on the investment. I'm telling you, it's diminishing returns on the investment. So again, communication is key. um, Intimacy is key, and men intimacy is in women. It's not just in the bed. We build intimacy before
And
that.
unfortunately, some men need as much reassurance as women do.
Dude, again, ego.
Yes.
Why do you think dudes love going to the strip clubs? Because their ego gets stroked the whole time that they in there. That's what it's about.
You know she don't want you.
You know this, but you lie to yourself and
Yes.
go in there and spend your money. But it's because your ego is being stroked. And men have to admit that. We are ego-driven folks sometimes. So, all that said, women, we just gave you the key. It's ego. Again, another episode of How Did We Get Here? Let us know what you think. We'll holler at you next time.